What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to the Draftkings Picks and Prediction Show. We are here on a Wednesday breaking down the UFC Vegas 86, which is, I don't know, it's complete madness, guys. I mean, we have 28 different fighters. We have fighters coming in on short notice. We have fighters dropping weight classes they've never fought at before. We have Darrius Flowers cutting down to 155. We have Ihor Potieria cutting down to 185 on a week's notice. I mean, this card is great. Like, we don't have salaries for a lot of the fighters as well. So yeah, it's an Apex card. It's definitely an Apex card here. But we are here to break it all down. I am here with Gordo, Weezy, and Monk. We'll kick it to Gordo. Gordo, initial thoughts on this card and how you doing this fine Wednesday?
Oh, we got a few thoughts, that's for sure. We got fights nonetheless, and hopefully we try to find a way to navigate through this rocky road, to say the least. 28 fighters, many without salaries, but still, I do think there's some money-making opportunities, trying to get past the events of last week as well. We got some great fighters like Loma, the Train, Lookboonme, and we'll keep on going here. So looking forward to having another good week and hearing what you guys have to say.
Absolutely. We got Uncle Weezy in the building. Weezy, what is up? Are you looking forward to UFC Vegas 86?
Yeah, 14 fight card, and we only got salaries for 11 out of the 14 fights, is it? So it's going to be, we're kind of working with an incomplete puzzle here. We're putting together a puzzle that's got like a third of the pieces missing. It's like one of those things you find at the worst thrift store ever. But we're going to do our best to kind of put this together and make some sense of this shit, because it's a little bit hairy, It's a little bit hairy. We got like 5 debuting fighters on here, a lot of weight replacements and weight classes that people haven't fought at. So yeah, let's break it down. Let's go.
Here we go. And last but not least, we got the man behind the train, Monk. Are you looking forward to UFC Vegas 86?
Absolutely, guys. What a banger card. No, yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to fights, of course, but sheesh, I can't wait for 298. Had some luck. Didn't, as soon as I passed the tracks today, a train was coming through. So not only did I beat that big train, but I beat another big train that's 2 big trains back to back this week. Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Hopefully we don't sink in this card and we can swim to UFC 298. But I mean, are we going to see Ihor Poteria's finishing celebration again? That's the question on everyone's mind.
Man, this card's a mess. Like, I have a feeling we're going to get some fights canceled. Like, I just have a feeling. Like, it's just one of those cards where I think we're going to get some big, massive weight misses. It's just one of those weeks. Just one of those weeks. So I feel like if we have 14 fights now, I think we might get 12. And then you never know. Maybe they'll cancel a fight during, like, the main card. Remember they did that when Vieira and Petrosyan were supposed to fight? Like, you never know.
Bring it up.
Oh, I'm bringing it up. But, yep. We're going to break down these fights. As always, if you guys can, leave a like on the video. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. We go live every Wednesday, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And I say we get right into it, guys. I see a question in the chat, Dixon. We'll get to all the questions towards the end. Charlie, I'll get to your question as well. I don't know how to answer that, but we'll try our best to answer all questions. Elijah Wan, I see you. Plays in Fade Sports, I see you as well. And we got D-Man as well. What is up, everybody? All right. I say we get right into it, guys. And as always, we're going to start with the fight to target. And I'll let you kick it off. Monk, what is your favorite fight to target for this week?
Oh, geez. I mean, like I said, so just banger after banger. I got a full list here. I'm going to take the obvious one. It's Joe Pyfer and Jack Hermansson. So thanks for letting me kind of skate by on that one. 5-round fight. Love to see that for our DraftKings points. Pyfer, his path to victory is most likely a finish. In his UFC career so far, just under 100 points per win. So you'd like to see it a bit more than that, but his salary is not quite as high as it usually is. And Jack Hermansson, I believe, at 7,200, if I'm not mistaken, with any kind of win there, he is going to be prime optimal lineup material there, a la Charles Johnson last week. But yeah, when Hermansson wins, also scores 103 points per win. So I'm really liking the main event here, Pyfer and Hermansson. I'm really hoping to see Hermansson get it done, but I just don't know if that's going to happen this week. Might be a disappointing week all around. We'll have to see.
Charles Johnson and Luana Carolina were in the optimal lineup. last week. I mean, come on, right?
Sheesh. Sheesh.
Goodness. So hopefully we don't got none of that this week. My gosh. For me, I'm gonna go with a fight that I really like a couple of fights in the mid range. I think a lot of these fights in the mid range between like 8,000, 8,400 are going to finish. I think all three of these are. And the one that I do like the most probably is going to be Michael Johnson versus Darrius Flowers, and that is because it is a Darrius Flowers fight. And this guy does not go the distance very often at all. He's going to come out there. He's going to try to take off Johnson's head within the first 3 to 4 minutes. And if he does, he does. And if he doesn't, he's going to completely gas out. Darrius Flowers has been finished 6 times in his career, and all 6 of his losses. I sent Weezy a picture of his boxing record as well, and I thought it was fake at first, but apparently this guy, Darrius Flowers, is 1-10 in boxing with 10 knockout losses. Like
No
what?
way.
I swear. Weezy.
That's like real life Glass Joe.
Yeah. I think it's actually 7 knockout losses, I think is what it said on the thing. But
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, he's 1-10. And he finds the door.
Oh, you said he's 110? That's nice. He's 110 fights. That's good.
He's 1-10.
Oh, 1-10.
Yeah.
Oh,
Good.
And being the key word.
Yeah, it's not great. So yeah, Darrius Flowers. I mean, you had to play some Flowers because it's Michael Johnson, and Michael Johnson just like finds ways to screw things up. But at the same time, I think Michael Johnson's very live to weather the first couple minutes and finish Flowers in the second or third. So I think somebody's getting served here regardless, and I think the winner scores well at these price tags. Weezy, what is your favorite fight to target for this week?
Yeah, I had the one that you gave Brady, that Monk gave the main event. But I mean, Bryczek versus Potieria has got to be a fight that you're going to target. I mean, we don't have it yet. We don't have salaries yet, but it really doesn't matter what the salaries are. This fight is -260 to end under 1.5 rounds. Yeah, 1 knockout win, 7 KO losses, 1-10 record for Darrius Flowers. People are betting this guy because Michael Johnson is fucked up in the past.
People are betting this guy. I mean? That got me Weezy. People are betting this guy. He could have stopped there. He could have stopped there.
But with Bryczek, you got a guy who's if the Flintstones vitamins that this guy is on are the best in the entire world, and with Potieria, you got a guy who's a killer be killed fighter who's actually got a little bit of a submission game. He's undefeated to the submission, so neither one of these guys is very good. Neither one of these guys is very durable either. So I do like a lot the Potieria fight. That one's going to finish inside the distance, and whoever wins it probably scores in the triple digits because it probably ends under 7.5 minutes.
Just refreshed. Yeah, they still don't have salaries for it. Gosh. Yeah. So no salaries for this fight. They don't have salaries for the Hyder Emil Fernie Garcia fight. They don't have a salary for Bolaji Oki's new opponent. Yeah, they're missing a ton. And it's like Wednesday night. So hopefully they get on that soon. And that Hyder fight's been announced for and confirmed for like a while now. So I'm not sure what's going on, but we'll see. And then I think Gordo, what is your favorite fight to target?
Yeah, I was going to talk about that Potieria fight as well. I was wondering if any of you guys know how to do that Potieria dance. Can we get a little around the head action? Just thrown in there? No, nothing.
I don't.
All right, worth a shot. For me, I will take the middle fight. We'll take Vieira versus Petrosyan as a fight to target 8.28K. You could hit both these guys in your lineup, and it seems to be a very binary matchup. You have the striker versus grappler, especially when the grappler is as dangerous and as highly credited as someone like Vieira versus Petrosyan, who, although is a great striker, can be knocked down by a gust of wind, can be taken down. I do think it's going to make for a very interesting matchup. Vieira should have the opportunity to threaten early on with some ground success, with some submission upside, but as the fight goes on, Petrosyan should have the better cardio and have the ability to go out there and land powerful shots. Either way, I do expect the winner to score well, and I do think it's a fight you can look to target.
Sounds good. I like it. I'll have a ton of that one. Hopefully it doesn't get canceled before the main card starts this time around. All right. Moving on to the fight to fade. I'll kick this one off. The fight I'm going to fade is going to be Devin Clark versus Marcin Prachnio. It's like a really it kind of reminds me a little bit of like the Thomas Peterson Jamal Pokes fight last week. I just feel like this fight
Too soon.
sucked. it could be just terrible. Not a ton could happen. I mean, Devin Clark should get takedowns, but is he going to do anything with them? Probably not. Some cage pushing. Like, I think this fight is just going to be terrible. I think the matchmaker should be ashamed of himself, like putting these two together in the same cage. Like, this fight's going to suck in my opinion. So, and I like Clark to win, but 8,900, it's just too much. Very low volume, not a ton of finishing upside. I guess he can wrestle, like I said, but I don't know. I can't get there. And then as far as Marcin Prachnio, I also can't really get there either. So I'm fading Clark, Prachnio, what should be just an awful, embarrassing fight. Weezy, what fight are you fading this week?
Yeah, a good one is Loma versus Bruna Brazil, because Loma is really expensive this week, but she only scores 3 DraftKings points per minute, and Brazil is only scoring 2.46. So this fight is almost 70% to see the scorecards implied. So Loma's price is just too high, because at that, if she wins by decision, scoring 3 points a minute, that's a 75 point decision win, and that's that's not paying off the salary with what you're paying for her this week. So I think it's a great fight to fade, especially the favorite. Now, if you want to punt with Bruna Brazil and say, I'll take the 15 minutes and take my chances that maybe she gets the nod on the scorecards, I think that's not the worst play in the world. But there's very little upside on Brazil, and even if Loma gets a finish, there's probably going to be better options below her that score more points.
Yep, I like that one as well. Gordo, which fight are you fading this week?
Yeah, that was the one I had circled as well. That seems like to be the one that is at the top of my list, especially considering the points that Weezy made. Another fight right below it, though, that I am also fading is going to be that Marcos Richie Lang fight. I think that there is some credit to be given to Marcos. I do think he will have a clear striking edge, but when you have a guy as tough as Richie Lang, who's only been knocked out once in these fights, and you give yourselves a 15-minute striking affair where there should be no really grappling attempted, you're left off of really relying on finish upside. You're left relying on those knockdowns. And although they are plausible and they are possible, we have a guy here, Marcos, who is at such a high salary, but has so much expected of him here. I think if you look at that, you compare it finish upside to the people around him, he isn't as certain. And especially considering that he went out there and he put together a perfect second round knockout, only scored 104. Is that going to be enough to be optimal at 9.3K? I do think it's about that there are better spots than the people around them, and I am fading that fight more than I thought I would.
All right, and then Monk, how about you?
Yeah, excuse me. I'm gonna take a chance and go with the Wells Griffin fight. I like Wells here, and he has historically scored pretty well over 100 points per win and over 4.5 points per minute. But I'm looking at the defensive side of this one here, and when Max Griffin loses, he only gives up 74.3 points, and when Wells loses, he gave up 50 points. I believe that was the Carlson Harris fight. Griffin also has a serviceable takedown defense of 70%, and much like in the main event last week, which will come up again later in this card, both guys super tough. Griffin only been finished one time in his pro career. Same with Jeremiah Wells, it looks like. So if this one goes to decision, I really don't think the winner scores very well. So I'm going to kind of fade this one overall, maybe try to get a little bit of value there.
Yep, I don't hate it. I think that fight goes the distance. Yeah, don't hate that one. All right, we'll move on to the fighter to fade, and we'll stick with you, Monk. Monk, which fighter are you fading this week?
Well, I'm going to kind of go in the opposite of somebody Gordo mentioned, simply based on the historical stats here, and that's Armen Petrosyan. I do, if he wins, what does it look like? Historically, it looks like about 80 points no matter what happens. He scored 81 against Rodrigues, 77 against Dobson, 81 against Christian Leroy Duncan. And Vieira's been in there with, guys like Chris Curtis, decent striker. Dustin Stoltzfus, I know that's not saying much, but he just got a big knockout win, so he does have some power. He went almost 12 minutes with Stoltzfus before he finished Dustin in that one. So he has been in the octagon there with people that, supposedly know how to throw strikes. Petrosyan is probably better than those people with the stand-up game, but I just don't like how he scores, and he's going to have to put up triple digits before I really start to consider putting him in my lineup, especially as the most expensive underdog on the card this week. So at least as of now, we don't know 75% of the salaries, but yeah, I'll fade Petrosyan here as my fighter to fade.
All right, Dan, I see your question in the comments. We'll get to those very shortly. But for me, I'm going to fade. I think Gordo talked about this fight. So Daniel Marcos, 9,300. I like him to win. A lot of people do like him to win, but I'm not sure he has a ton of upside here. Gordo mentioned it. Arichi Long, extremely tough, extremely durable. 36 professional fights, only been knocked out once. He is a walking punching bag, but he'll eat everything coming his way. Marcos, just no grappling upside. I don't think he's going to wrestle. I don't think he's going to get fights down to the mat. So there's that. And then I don't think there's going to be an early finish as well. Maybe a late finish for Marcos here. But even then, how well is he going to score? But I think it's a decision here for Marcos. And with no grappling upside, with no early finishing upside, at 9,300, that's too much for me. So kind of struggling with this 9K range, this week, because I hate Loma at 9,400. I hate Marcos at 9,300. So, but yeah, Marcos is the guy that I'm going to be fading this week. Gordo, who are you going to be fading this week?
Yeah, it's someone that is in a bit of a precarious situation this week, and that is Bolaji Oki, 9.5K. I don't know if we have even an official betting line on this, but I went ahead, I did my research on it, and I don't think it's a spot where this guy should be warranted of a 9.5K salary. A lot of these times you go out there and you get these unnatural salaries, and sometimes they have a more advantageous matchup in the spot. I think it's a worse matchup for Oki, and you're getting a guy at 9.5K who is taking on a tougher opponent, who lines should be lined much closer, and who should not be priced at 9.5K. You add in the fact he's a debutant, and he is a guy who I think may have some issues when it comes down to having some early success here. And I think that he is, let's say, a bit overpriced considering his situation. I know he is athletic. I know he is dynamic. But when we're considering the matchups that everybody else has around them, I'm not getting to OK 9.5K. I think he's overpriced. And although he does have some potential upside, I don't think he wins this fight as much as the 9.5K price tag entails.
Yeah, I mean, it's a step up from Damir Hadžović. I mean, they could have gave somebody, random off the street in Vegas, threw him in there, and it'd probably been a step up from Hadžović. There is a betting line, though. Oki is minus 193, and Kwamba is plus 168, Gordo.
Where's that?
Bet online.
Cool. Just wondering.
So his salary of 95K, if that sticks, that's an absolute trash salary at this point, then.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yep. So, yeah, definitely, I agree, Gordo, 100% a step up from Damir Hadžović, which I was shocked that was even on the card this week for what it's worth. And then I think Weezy, which fighter are you fading this week?
Yeah, it was going to be Daniel Marcos, 2.65 work rate per minute. That's, he mostly strikes. And I kind of feel like, Arichi Lang being from a good camp over there at Fight Ready that works cage wrestling all the time, we know what Marcos wants to do. He wants to stay at range and use his Muay Thai. I don't know if Arichi Lang's going to let him do that. So especially if Quillen goes out there with a grappling heavy game plan, Marcos might score less than 2.65 points per minute, and this fight might be really close. So if he doesn't win, or if he only scores 2.65 points per minute and doesn't get a finish, he's not paying off that salary, and he's a very safe fade if those things happen.
We got Mushroom in the building. What is up, Mushroom? Yeah, I didn't even think about Arichi Long maybe going out there and wrestling, which that makes sense, right? And Arichi Long is training at Fight Ready, so maybe they do have a game plan in terms of him going out there and maybe mixing up some takedowns, which is another reason to not like Marcos at this price tag. I agree. All right, we'll move on to our favorite dog, and a couple guys sticking out. Curious to hear your thoughts on it. We'll start with you, Gordo. Who is your favorite dog this week?
You know what? Let's stay on this train of thought, and let's go with a fighter we do not have a salary for. A fighter we just talked about, Timothy Kwamba. I just mentioned fading Oki, and the more I go out and think about it, if we are going to get a salary that is going to be that low for someone, as you said, was plus 160 at this point in time, I do think he's going to be an underdog I'm looking to target. Oki is someone who looked to be very front-loaded, had a ton of athleticism, had a good, let's say, impression his first time out here. But there are still some question marks I like to see about him. I still don't know how he reacts to being put on the back foot. I still have seen him being taken down and have some issues in the ground game. And I've still seen him really not face too much resistance. I think he's going to get an opponent in front of him who's going to make him work, who's going to put him down on his back, and who's going to see if he wants to take the road out. Does he want to become a Darrius Flowers, or does he want to push through adversity here? And that's what we're going to learn from Oki. I do think Kwamba is the type of guy to take advantage of that, and I do think that as an underdog with grappling upside and who has a very good chance to win, in my opinion, is someone who I'm going to be looking to target. I do think it's going to be a very, very fun fight, and I'm going to take this dog on the guy who I was just fading up top.
All right. Yep. Makes sense. Wish we had a salary, but we'll get it soon, I imagine. I'm going with somebody who I don't think is that good, but he's also going against somebody who I also don't think is that good. and that is going to be Bogdan Guskov, 7,800. This guy is a guy that's just going to go after it. He's going to try to take off Pauga's head. I don't think Pauga's the most durable guy. I don't think he can really take a shot. And if Guskov hits this guy clean, I could see Guskov getting a first-round knockout. Guskov has not fought the best competition at all, but this guy has 14 wins. I think 11 or 12 of them are first-round knockouts. So give me that upside of Guskov. Like I said, I don't think he's that great, but I also think that he has serious first-round upside here. Monk, who is your favorite dog for this week?
Still doing it this week, but that's all right. It's the same thing, man. It's the same thing. Looking at the dogs this week, and I'm not counting any of the three that don't have salaries, even though we could probably guess who's going to be the dog there. I mean, the list is trash. I already talked about Jack Hermansson, so that is probably my favorite. But as far as getting a win, I think it's Bogdan. I can't believe I'm saying that. I called him a bum last time he fought Volkan. I called him a fraud. And he might very well be that. He might still be that here. But he's fighting Zach Pounga, not Volkan Ozdemir. And Pounga got KO'd by Muhammad Usman in like 5 minutes and 30 seconds. So it's just what you said, Brady. If Guskov can find the chin or find the button of Zach Pounga, there's a chance that, if he sits him on his butt against the cage, this shit is probably over, fraud or not. So 7,800, I think it's a good price for a possible very high ceiling.
Yep, looking for that upside. And then Weezy, who is your favorite dog for this week?
I've got Jack Hermansson this week. 5 rounds to work with, and I think his tendency to not engage at distance striking range and his high volume wrestling approach can keep him safe and have him provide a decent floor if he doesn't die early in this fight. Both Hermansson and Pyfer have really good work rates. Jack Hermansson, over a really large sample size, is scoring 3.29 DraftKings points per minute. And I would think that he would want to drag Joe Pyfer into deep waters, see what this dude looks like in the second round, in the third round. And if he does that, if he takes that path, he can give you a little bit decent of a floor by getting you some minutes and not dying early. But that the longer this fight goes on, the better chance he has of winning. So you're not only getting a very cheap fighter at 7,200, but if this thing goes the full 5 rounds, man, when an underdog that's in a 5-round fight wins, that fighter is almost always on the optimal lineup. So let's take a shot and fade the hype of Joe Pyfer.
All right. Yep. I think you have to have some of that main event. That's for sure. And Hermansson down low makes sense to me. I think we covered everybody, right?
Yep.
All right. We got Kyle Marley in the building. What is up, Kyle? Thank you for stopping by. I know Kyle was probably looking forward to Loma, Luke Boomy, Bruno Brazil. I think we all are. There's some good matchups.
Oh, yeah.
Devin Clark, Marcin Prachnio. That's going to be a fight I don't watch.
Banger.
It's going to be a fight.
You just muted yourself somehow. I
thought my entire speaker just stopped working for a second.
Yeah, we still can't hear you.
Honestly,
there you go. There it is. Now I hear you.
I wasn't even by my computer. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
maybe it was a ghost. The ghost of Bogdan Guskov.
The ghost of Ihor. But he just did the little duel around your mic, your Yeti, and
something's going on. I'm kind of worried now. But I said let's do prize picks, and Jack is crazy. That's the first time I've ever heard somebody say they're hyped for a Devin Clark fight. Shout to Jack. Maybe it will be fun. We'll see. So prize picks here. We will kick it to Gordo, and I forget how we did on prize picks. We'll talk about it later, though. Gordo, what do you got for prize picks this week?
There's honestly a few things that stick out. One of them is going to be over 54.5 significant strikes landed for Haider Emil.
No, it's not.
This is a fight when he's taking on a very, very... Oh, what's that? Sorry? Am I good?
You stole my play. No, we're not good. I gotta pick a different play.
I got a few in the bag. I can switch this up.
No, you already stole it. Just take it. I'll get something else.
Well, all right, it's mine now then. Haider Emil over 54.5. He's facing a very, very tough Fernie Garcia, and he is a guy who likes to go out there and push the pace. Fernie Garcia is a guy who is extremely durable, who this fight should go out 15 minutes, and if we're going out there and doing so, Haider Emil is not a guy who focuses on technicality. He focuses on volume. He focuses on the ability to go out there and break people. And when you're a guy like Fernie Garcia who allowed 57 strikes to Journey Newsome, a guy like Haider Emil who pushes a very, very high pace should be able to go out there and land over 55 himself. That's all he does. There should not be much grappling in this spot. I do think he's going to go out there and throw at a very high pace. And I do think that this Hyder Emil guy, which whole style is built around volume, should go out there and pass this line at a high clip. I'm a fan.
All right. Yep. I mean, I like it. I mean, that's what I wrote down. I'll give a different one here. So I'm going to go, let's see if this line is still there. It is. So I'm going the takedown route, and I actually like Jeremiah Wells more than 1.5 takedowns. And Max Griffin does have I'll say it's good takedown defense, but he can be taken down. I mean, 40-year-old Tim Means took this guy down 3 times. And Jeremiah Wells, he's not like the best technical wrestler, but he'll just like take you down. Like, this guy's so physically strong. He got 3 takedowns against Carlson Harris, got 6 takedowns against Matthew Semmelsberger. And I think he is going to absolutely try to mix in takedowns here. And I think this fight goes 15 minutes. So I think over the course of 15 minutes, Wells will be mixing in these takedowns. And I think he gets at least 2 in this fight. So give me Wells more than 1.5 takedowns. Weezy, what do you like for prize picks this week?
Yeah, I saw a number that kind of stuck out, so I put together a significant strike template to see what the numbers looked like. And I was looking at Devin Clark under 45.5 significant strikes. Devin Clark, 15 UFC fights. He's only gotten more than 46 significant strikes, 4 out of those 15 fights. As far as Pragnio and his defense, he's only allowed more than 46 significant strikes, 2 of 8 fights. So 23 fight sample size, only 26% of those combined fights have we seen Clark get more 46 or more, or Pragnio allow 46 or more. Then when we look into Uncle Weezy's tits metric, which tells us the percentage chance based on the history of the division and the win probability of the fighter, in this case, Devin Clark, what the chance is that they get over that. Tits metric has it at 30.5%. In addition, weighted average of Clark's offense and Pragnio's defense for significant strikes is 3.07 per minute. Even if this fight goes 15 minutes at that pace, we still cover it at 45. So this is a good spot in my opinion. I like the Devin Clark under 45.5 significant strikes.
Absolutely. I like it as well, especially because I think Clark's going to be wrestling the entire time and should have easy success doing so. So I like it. And then Monk, what do you got for prize picks?
I love that Wells over 1.5. That was the second one on my list, but I'm going to go with one that we've kind of talked shit about the fight, so maybe we can at least make it watchable here. How about Loma Lookboonmee over 50.5 significant strikes here? I like this one to go 15 minutes. Bruna Brazil has allowed exactly 54 significant strikes in both of her previous 2 fights, win and loss. So that's good for us. Lookboonmee, excuse me, 80 against Frey, 84 against Hughes, 48 against Gomez. Basically, 4 of her last 5 fights, she's been over or right at 3 strikes a minute. So 2 of them well over 5 strikes per minute. The only one she didn't do so well against was Lupi Godinez, and she was taken down 5 times, controlled for 7.5 minutes of that fight. So obviously she's not going to get her strikes off. I don't expect to see that game plan. Hopefully if this stays on the feet for 15 minutes, I don't see how she doesn't make 50.5 relatively easily.
All right, so Monk taking the more on the Loma strikes. Weezy taking the less on the Clark strikes. I'm taking the more on the Wells takedowns, and then Gordo is taking the more on the Emil strikes. Yeah, I like all 4 of those, so we'll see if we can go 4 for 4. Okay, guys, we'll keep moving on to our favorite GPP play, and we'll kick it to our Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is your favorite GPP play for this week?
I think there's a few good options up there. I put down Carlos Prates. This kid's striking is phenomenal, and I think he finds a finish early versus Trevin Giles. And I'm not willing to lay the juice on his money line in the betting markets, but knowing Giles has been finished in 100% of his losses is very comforting with the power and the skill that Prates possesses at distance striking range. High upside option against an opponent that has been finished in 100% of his losses. So I do think that Prates probably finds a finish here if he wins this fight and pays off his salary.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. Both these guys get finished a ton, especially Officer Trevin Giles. So yeah, I think they might need to bring some backup into the cage after that fight. Yeah. So for me, I put down a fight that hopefully we get to watch this time around. It's going to be Rodolfo Vieira, 8,200. Yeah, I mean, I like the matchup for him. I really do. He's going against Armen Petrosyan, who literally has a 36% takedown defense. A gust of wind takes this guy down. And I mean, if you get Rodolfo Vieira on top of you, if you have Rodolfo Vieira on your back, there's going to be some serious problems, right? There is a scenario where Rodolfo Vieira gets him down. Petrosyan's able to survive for the first 7.5 minutes and all that. But I just feel like Vieira is going to get a ton of opportunities. And it could only take one takedown potentially here. So I like Vieira. I like the early finish upside. I like the takedown upside. And he is my preferred play in that fight that I do like from a DraftKings perspective. But yeah, give me Vieira, 8,200. Hopefully he gets an early sub. Gordo, what do you like for a GPP play this week?
I'm with Weezy. I really do like this Carlos Prates kid. A couple weeks ago, I tweeted out, I'm like, betting slumps suck because I really want to lay the hammer on this kid, but I don't have the balls to. I ended up doing it. I got 4 units on Carlos Prates minus 200. I'm all for this kid, man. I do think he has some very, very good striking. He likes to utilize it at the end of his range, and I do think he has the power, the technicality, and the precision to go out there and dismantle this Officer Giles. I do think that it is a test for him. He showed off really, really well off the Dana White Contender Series, and I do think he is someone with a ton of power, a marketable by the UFC, who I do think has some success out there. I do like Carlos Prates this week. I do think he has some finish upside, and I do like his ability to go out there and outscore the people around him at this price range.
Yeah, but I mean, I could definitely see Prates getting a knockout here, and I think we might have an officer down come Saturday. And then last but not least, Monk, what do you like for a GPP play?
Freeze, buddy, I'm a cop. I just hope we get to hear him say that. Yeah, most of my picks start with this sentence. I can't believe I'm about to say this, but, and this is one of those. And who is it in the chat? Yeah, Jack is on this, man. Devin Clark. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but he's one of my favorite GPP guys this week at 8,900. Marcin Prachnow's not good. I mean, neither guy is really good, but Prachnow especially, he loves to get knocked down, first of all. And Clark, we've seen him do that occasionally. Clark scores decently when he does win, average 94.3 points per win. That is over 10xing, which is what we look for in the very least. But my big thing is here, Prachnow gives up 106.44 points per loss on average, guys. And he's just not lost once or twice. It's more than a couple of times in the UFC. So yeah, I think if Clark wins, I mean, round one sub would be fantastic, Jack. That would be just amazing. 8,900. I think we got a really decent spot on a guy that can score pretty well against a scrub, and especially if a lot of people are overlooking this fight, paying $100 more for Joe Pyfer or $200 for RoboCop, 300 more for Prates. I think he might get overlooked a little bit, and we'll get some value there.
Yep, fair. Maybe I'm being a little bit too hard on.
Like
Devin
I said,
Clark.
I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah. I mean, and it could come back and bite me. I mean, who knows?
I mean, he's going against, like you said, he's going against Marcin Prachnow. Even though Devin Clark is the least dangerous brown bear I've ever seen, maybe he is able to finish Prachnow this time around. We shall see it. All right, yeah, Jack likes it. All right, we'll move on to our favorite cash play. This is a weird week for cash, man. It's like, I'm not feeling comfortable with like a lot of these fighters. So I'm curious to hear what you guys came up with. We'll start with you, Gordo. What do you like for cash this week?
Yeah, like you mentioned, there's a few things, some rocky waters to navigate. I think when it comes to cash, just to have a safe floor on what is a very, very rocky week, I'm liking Dan Ige this week. 8.6K is at the middle of the pack. I think he's going to be a guy with a very, very safe floor in a fight that I do think he has a good chance of winning. He is very, very durable. He's going to go out there, have a ton of volume, and I do think it's going to be a very, very fun matchup, to which at 8.6K, I do think he has the opportunity to throw out enough volume to be a safe cash option. Not only does he have the ability to, I think, win the fight a majority of the time, but considering his durability, his volume, his floor is a lot safer than, say, Zach Pauga or a Devin Clark or the people around him. I do think when it comes down to safety, he is that guy. He does have that safe floor for you, and I do think his mid-range salary allows you to go wherever you want the rest of the cash card.
We got Razor in the building. What is up, Razor? Shout out to everyone. What is up? Hopefully you're doing well. Yeah, I mean, I like your pick a lot, Gordo. I wish I could steal it, but I'm not going to do that. So I went with another guy. This is probably who I feel maybe the best about going out there and winning this fight. I actually really like Gregory Rodrigues to win the fight against Brad Tavares. My concern is, I'm not sure what his upside really is. He's sitting at 9,100. He's an elite BJJ black belt that just for some reason refuses to grapple. And I saw some people on Twitter talking about betting the sub prop. I will never bet a Gregory Rodrigues sub prop ever again. I bet this guy's sub prop against Dennis Tuoluen, and I was so confident. He takes him down and then lands one ground and pound shot, and it puts out Dennis Tuoluen. It broke my freaking heart, but he's not subbing anybody ever. It's not his game. So I don't think he has any grappling upside. And I guess it just comes down to whether or not he finishes Tavares, which I think he can. Tavares has been knocked out 4 times, but he is tough at the end of the day. So I like Rodrigues to win. It's just I'm not sure, what the ceiling really is. So for cash, I like him to go out there and get the job done regardless. Monk, who do you like for cash games this week?
Yeah, I like both those picks for sure. I'm going to go with somebody who, A, I think is going to win the fight. B, it could go all 15. And C, has huge wrestling upside. I think it was Gordo that touched on it, but I'm not sure. Jeremiah Wells, $8,500. You don't have to break the bank to pay for this guy. He's got, again, like I said, tremendous DraftKings upside. 4.62 points a minute in his career, 4.21 at distance, and 4.15 inside the distance. These numbers are towards the top across the entire card. His big hole is at distance. His defense at distance, not very good, allowing over 4 points a minute. But as we said, who was he? Griffin has 70-ish percentage takedown defense. Like I said, serviceable. I think Brady gave him a similar adjective to that earlier as well. But Wells, 3.89 takedowns per 15 minutes. I mean, I'm just hoping for a nice, 2, 3, 4, 5 takedowns and a lot of control time at 8,500. He doesn't have to score 120 to make the optimal, but he could still score 120 if he gets that ground game going. So give me Jeremiah Wells for my favorite cash play. All
right, I'm sorry. This comment's throwing me off my mushroom. Clark's dad will land more significant strikes against him if you lose. What are you saying? What are you saying, dude?
Yeah, I know what he's saying. He's saying that Devin Clark's dad is a complete psycho, and I absolutely agree with him.
He was in his corner from like 4 fights ago, 3 fights ago. He was being completely wild in his corner.
I know. Clark will be getting coached up by his coach, and his dad will be right behind him, screaming in his ear, yelling over what the coach is trying to tell him, and pointless shit like, "You're in a fight now." He knew he was in a fight.
You're grounded.
He signed a contract, wild.
No phone for a week. Yeah, that's stuff.
Devin Clark's like 36. No. 37. Gosh. Oh, my goodness. All right. Then I think Weezy, who you like for cash this week?
Oh, my cash play this week is it's Gregory Rodrigues. I think he's a safe option to win. He scores 4.46 DraftKings points per minute. So that's an excellent pace. And he's facing an aging and slowing Brad Tavares, who isn't as durable as he used to be. So I like Gregory to find the KO here, pay off his salary. I feel he's not only is he a safe option to win, but over a decent sample size, when you're scoring that many DraftKings points per minute, it provides a really nice floor if the fight goes at least 10 minutes. So, yeah, I think he's a good play this week for cash.
All right. We'll move on now to our favorite value play, and we'll start with you, Gordo. Who you liking for some value this week?
Man, I'm going to steal Monk's lines. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I just want the opportunity to talk about this and talk about some value here. We've talked about the other side of this fight. Can't believe we're going to talk about this in a DraftKings show, but Zach Pauga, 8.4K. And hear me out. I know he is just DraftKings AIDS, but taking who he's facing a guy here in Bogdan who is typically to be round 1 or nothing. And I do think it's a spot here where we're going to have a higher ceiling or some potential value on a guy in Pauga who might be really low owned considering the way that the public views the guy. I think you have a guy here in Pauga who may be who is the better all-around mixed martial artist and who, although does not have much finishing instinct, has a guy in front of him in Guskov who really fades down the stretch after that round 1 fall off. So I think Pauga has the better hand speed. I think he has the better clinch and ground game, and I think he's the better resiliency. And if he can survive that first round or survive that right hand coming towards him, I do think he can look like hindsight value and put up more points than he has in the past. I know that this is not Jordan Wright, but maybe it is a right time for everyone.
Yeah, and Pauga is the better looking fighter in this matchup too.
Stop. I don't know, man.
Not?
I don't know.
You don't think the baby of Anthony Smith and NoHo Hank is attractive?
I think he's the most terrifying human being I've ever seen in my life, to be honest. That guy's terrifying.
Him and Spivak, man. I think they train at the same gym.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's no windows and they fucking sleep there.
Yeah.
Just scary people.
I know. There's who's that one dude? Magomed Mustafayev. That guy's just terrifying. He never fights, but he's terrifying nonetheless. Oh my gosh. All right. So for me, I'm going with the other side of the main event. I'm going Jack Hermansson here, 7,200. So my pick is Pyfer by knockout in rounds 1 or 2. But if this fight does get extended, I think it's going to get really, really interesting. Joe Pyfer's not seen a third round in 6 years. Joe Pyfer's been finished in all of his losses. And I've heard people say like Jack Hermansson's a bum this week, and I mean, I couldn't disagree more. I mean, this guy's had some crazy performances, crazy wins, crazy finishes back in the day. He went out there and submitted David Branch in 49 seconds. He submitted Kelvin Gastelum in the first minute. Like, this guy has just some crazy fights. The Tyler latest fight where he was injured in that fight ended up, TKOing him in the third round. This guy's had some very good performances. Like Edmund Shabazi wasn't too long ago. He beat the crap out of Edmund. So I think if, Jack Hermansson is able to survive this first round and a half, 2 rounds, and if Joe Pyfer starts to get tired, and if this fight hits the ground and Jack Hermansson's on top, I think he could finish Pyfer down the stretch. So, as long as his head stays attached to his body for these first 10 minutes, I think he has a really good chance of winning this fight. And at 7,200, I think there's some value there. I'm going to be as close to 100% owned on this main event as possible. I think the winner scores well, whether that's a Joe Pyfer early knockout or a Jack Hermansson dominant finish down the stretch. So give me Jack Hermansson as the value play. And we got Monk. Who are you liking for your value play this week?
Yeah, it's absolutely Jack Hermansson, 7,200. I mean, Joe Pyfer's, he's looked great. I mean, who'd he beat? Alan Amadovsky, maybe the worst fighter in history of UFC. He's the lost one. Nobody thinks about when they're naming UFC fighters that are the worst in history. Alan's etched his name on that tablet for sure. Then it was Gerald Meerschaert over immediately, specialist fighter. And then Abdul Razak Al Hassan took him, 7 minutes. Still got the job done. Still scored less than 100 DraftKings points there. So Hermansson, the much, much better strength of schedule. It's not even close. Beat Chris Curtis, smashed Edmund Shabazian. And he has to have the cardio edge, right? I mean, this dude just is nonstop. I just love it. I'm a big Jack Hermansson fan. Other than that, my fade the big train play of the week would have been Fernie Garcia, because we don't know shit about Emil. Fernie's not good, but he's lasted a few fights, 15 minutes apiece. And that would be the other value play I'd go with there. But we don't have salaries, and it's almost Thursday at this point.
We don't. We don't, unfortunately. And then we have Weezy value play for this week.
Yeah, I'm going with Ihor Kwai Lang. Marcos isn't much of a finisher, and Ihor's scoring 3.72 DraftKings points per minute. So if this fight goes to decision, Kwai Lang provides you with a guy who can score around 55 to 56 points in a loss at that work rate. And with some wrestling upside, some power upside, he's a good cheap dog this week with a decent floor and potentially some upside.
All right. Somebody in the chat said William Knight is the worst UFC fighter ever. Like, William Knight has I think 3 wins. Yeah, he has 4 wins in the UFC. No, 3. And he had 2 on Contender Series. So we can't be the worst. I mean, Alan Amadovsky went 0-4 and got finished in 3 out of those 4. The only person not to finish him was Krzysztof Jaka. I mean, Krzysztof Jaka should be ashamed of himself. I mean,
he should. Yeah.
That's incredible.
That should keep him up at night.
And the UFC
I think Harry
should know
like
that
the word.
Yeah, but what about Hu Yazong? And let's not forget that Hu Yazong was slated to fight Alan Amadovsky. And, you lose that fight, you're now the official worst fighter in the entire history of the UFC. That fight, they made it twice, and twice it didn't happen.
Even the fight itself was like, oh my God, no.
I know.
No.
Yeah, I mean, that's my pick for worst UFC fighter of all time. Hu Yazong. 0-3 in the UFC, 3-3 overall. I mean, it's crazy. So, 0-1, and I think he got cut after going 0-1. That was bad. Maurice Green has some wins, man. I mean, Maurice Green has a couple wins, but yeah, he was not
crochet
great.
boss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So what we'll do now is go to a dart throw. I think there's a couple interesting dart throws for this week. We'll start with you, Weezy. Who are you liking for a dart throw?
I think it's Michael Johnson, because he's the favorite here, but so many people have such an awful opinion of him as a fighter that I think he'll be low owned due to the fact that perception probably has Flowers being the higher upside fighter, the finisher. But I mean, I think Flowers is awful. So I think Johnson wins this fight in the second round, probably puts up triple digits. And I think he'll be under-owned compared to where he should be just because he's Michael Johnson. And like, there's not anybody that's watched this sport for more than 3 or 4 years that gambles on it that hasn't been fucked by Michael Johnson at some point.
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
literally 100% of the betting population.
Yeah.
Whether you bet against him in a fight that he was absolutely supposed to lose, or whether you bet on him in a fight that he was absolutely supposed to win, he has been inside of you at some point. And I just don't see people even putting him on their Draftkings rosters.
That's so
I think
true.
he's kind of like a draft. He's like a dart throw this week.
Yeah, I mean, Michael Johnson effed me many times. I stopped trusting in Michael Johnson. I think the last straw for me with Michael Johnson, it was back when he fought Stevie Ray in 2019, and that was the card that was in Singapore. And I woke up, like, I think Michael Johnson was a massive favorite. I woke up and I saw that Michael Johnson somehow lost to this guy. And I think that was the last straw. Like, how do you lose to Stevie Ray? I mean, that was incredible. That's when I stopped trusting.
Yeah, that dude plays guitar or some shit.
Yeah, that was insane. And then after that, he got leg locked or ankle locked by Thiago Moises. Lost to Clay Guida. I mean, it's up and down. But Weezy's right. This is his easiest opponent since who was that guy?
Edward Fa'aloto. A guy who has a career record of 2-5. And somehow he wound up getting in the UFC and fighting Michael Johnson back in 2000. I'd never even heard of the guy. Brady told me about him. I'm like, you're making this up.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I just
like
put
2
him in my
apostrophes
database
in his last name, and I thought he was like fucking with me, But no, it's true.
Yeah,
more apostrophes than wins.
I was looking at the match. Was like, man, this is Michael Johnson's easiest win. And I was scrolling, and I saw Edward Falalato, who's 2-5, 0-3 in the UFC. So Edward Falalato might be the worst UFC fighter of all time. I mean, it's bad. He got knocked out by Anthony Njokuani, knocked out by Michael Johnson, and then he got submitted as well. So yeah, I mean, I think Falalato might take the cake for the worst fighter of all time in the UFC. All right, so I think we have, I forget who just went.
I haven't given my dart throw yet.
So confused. Falalato really got me. Monk, who do you got then?
Yeah, I'll also go with Arichi Lang here at 6,900. Yeah, I love the upside to this guy. Yes, he did get KO'd in like 1 minute by Ayman Zahabi. Gross. But he's not looked bad against less than okay competition. So Marcos, other than the Davey Grant fight was pretty close fight according to the stats. Simon Oliveira, I mean, that was not close whatsoever. So we'll see if Arichi Lang can do something kind of in the middle and kind of stay with Marcos a little bit. Hopefully pay off that salary of just 6,900. So let's go with the Mongolian Murderer this week.
All right. For me, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but my dart throw is going to be Officer Trevin Giles. He's coming in. He's bringing in the handcuffs. No, but how many times have we seen a Contender Series guy come into the UFC, very hyped, big favorite, and lose? And the answer to that is all the time. I mean, it happens all the time. Trevin Giles, as he's fought the much better competition in and outside the UFC, it's not even close. And he's a good fighter. Like, Trevin Giles is a very good fighter. I like the striking. I don't like the volume, but I like the striking. BJJ black belt. Really good defensive wrestling. He has all the tools. It's just he's kind of like Michael Johnson. He just always finds a way to lose. And when he's losing, he loses in dominant fashion. So I think Prates probably does knock this guy out. But I mean, it wouldn't really shock me if Officer Trevin Giles did go in here and somehow pull off the upset against Prates, who, yes, he's very good, but Prates has been finished like 5 times in his career. Twice by knockout, 3 by sub, hasn't fought the best competition. At 7K, I don't hate some Trevin Giles sprinkles, but and then another guy I do want to mention that does not have a salary that I think is a great dart throw is Ihor Potieria. Not sure what the price tag is going to be, but Bryczek, same thing. Bryczek is so unproven. He probably only has a round of gas, and I think Potieria, if he wins, it's the first round knockout. So those are my 2 dart throws that stuck out, but we don't have a salary for Potieria. And then I think Gordo, what do you got for our dart throw?
Yeah, it was Trevin Giles, and hear me out. Like I mentioned, how much I love Prates. I got a big bet on him. He's my favorite GP target. But how does Prates lose? Like I don't see a way that he loses that isn't really either a fluke KO or a dominant ground performance from Giles. And I think that both ways that Giles wins, although in my eyes minute, scores very well. And I do think the path to victory for Giles is a very, very high ceiling. I don't think it happens too often, but when it does, should score very well at low ownership. The ceiling is there for him, although I don't think it happens.
Yeah, I mean, nobody's playing Trevin Giles this week. He could be like even lower than Charles Racki was last week. Racki was like 13% owned. I could see Giles being even less than that because nobody wants to play him. All right. So what we'll do now is, if you guys have any questions in the chat, be sure to type them in. We have a good amount. I'd say about 40% of them are from Dixon Sider, which is fine. We love Dixon, but get those comments in there. And we're going to go over the results from UFC Vegas 85. And in 4th place was Weezy. He had Azat Maxim 45. Kisrev 0.4, and yeah, that sucked. That ruined, I think, 2 of our 4 lineups. So Kisrev 0.4, Thomas Peterson 44, Julio Stoliarenko 19, Lana Quinones 35, and Roma Delidze 41. Weezy scored 186.74. In 3rd place was Monk, Azat Maxim 45, Kisrev 0.4, Madero 64, Jungyoung Lee 72, Dober 18, and Delidze 41. Monk scored 243.32. 2nd place was myself, Natalia Silva 50, Molly McCann 119, Peterson 44, Quinones 35, Delidze 41, Charles Racki 122, scoring 414.54. And then in 1st place was Gordo, Themba 129, Azat 45, Peterson 44, Moicano 96, Delidze 41, Racki 122. Gordo, you scored 481.59. My goodness, that was bad. That was bad. But good job, Gordo.
Thank you. Where does that put me in the overall standings? Right behind you, because that's just where I like to be.
Well, let's take a look. Let's take a look then. Monk is in 4th. He has 1,034 DraftKings points. Weezy's in 3rd. He has 1,040 DraftKings points. Gordo is in 2nd, 1,216 DraftKings points. And then I am in 1st, 1,220. Gordo, you're only 4 behind. Weezy, you're 180 behind. And then Monk, you're 186 behind. We are 3 cards in. And in terms of the prize picks,
Get your brooms out.
Did we sweep it?
Yeah, we did.
There we go.
Dude, you guys won your 3, and then I had the over 16 and a half minutes. Do you know what the clock said when Roman Delidze took that illegal kick?
No.
It had been 16 minutes and 28 seconds. I was 2 seconds short, and I was like, these motherfuckers all got their price picks, and now the fight's going to be over, and I'm going to lose because of this freaking kick with 2 seconds left. But thank God Delidze's not Chris Curtis, and I cleared that with ease. But yeah, 2 seconds.
Yeah. Wow.
Like, Jesus.
Dude, I thought Delidze might have just took the win. Like, he could have took the win there. Like, he could have took it, but respect to him for not.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm 2-1 in prize picks. Gordo 2-1, Weezy 1-2, and Monk 1-2. So there we go. All right. Monk does a really good job keeping track of everything. It's pretty cool. Monk does a ton of good work there. All right, guys, let's get to our lineups this week, and we'll answer some questions. All right, we'll start with you, Gordo. What is your lineup for this week? It's probably going to change considering we're missing a ton of
fights. Yeah.
Oh, it's going to change. I want Kwamba in there. I want one of the Potieria Bryczek matchup. Like there are guys who I want in my lineup who I don't have right now. But for the time being, with what we have right now, I will take Carlos Prates up top. We will take Dan Ige, Zach Pauga, fun name, Bogdan Guskov, oh my God, Max Griffin, and Rodolfo Vieira.
Dude, I was looking at my lineup that I wrote down, and I kid you not, it has Loma Luke Boonmi in it. Was I like fried doing these notes? Like, why would I put Loma Luke Boonmi in my lineup? And I get we're missing it.
Did Gordo say he had Zach Pauga and Bogdan Guskov?
Yeah, no, I have Flowers instead of Guskov. I just realized that.
Okay, I was like, well, that is bold.
Holy crap.
Yeah, I'm not stacking Guskov and Pauga.
Like Darrius Flowers.
So
Flowers. I want
Guskov.
Kwamba, but for now, I'm going to give the guy his flowers. All right.
There you go.
I'm rostering Loma. Gordo's rostering Flower. I mean, what's going on this week? So I fixed it a little bit. I'm actually going to let Weezy go first because I'm still working over here. Weezy, what do you got for this week?
I've got Prates, Hobo Cop Rodrigues, Devin Clark, Wells, and then I'm going with Jack Hermansson and Ihor Quailang.
All right. I'm going to probably change mine because I really do want Hyder Emil in my lineup. I think this guy is going to score a lot. I mean, the pace that he sets. So for right now, I'm going to go with Dan Ige, Carlos Prates, Michael Johnson, Rodolfo Vieira, Jack Hermansson, and Bogdan Guskov. But it's going to definitely change once we get salaries out. And then, Monk, what do you got?
Yeah, same. Obligatory. This will likely change. But for now, nobody that doesn't have a salary. So Gregory Rodrigues, Devin Clark, Jeremiah Wells, Rodolfo Vieira, Bogdan Guskov, the guy that makes alopecia nervous, and Jack Hermansson.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, we'll get to some questions here. We have a bunch of them. Did you see why Drake is trending worldwide? Unfortunately,
he dropped a new song.
Next.
Unfortunately,
Drake
I did.
who?
And Drake, you know Drake, Weezy.
Okay.
Do you not know him?
I listen to hip
No,
hop.
I know
have a
who he
clue
is.
Drake
Yeah,
is.
I heard
I
he
thought-
does music, but I like my music good, so I haven't listened to him.
Yeah, unfortunately, I saw it, but I've seen much worse things. Shout out to Jessica Andrade. Charlie Chips says, "What? I don't know how to answer that."
I
Oh,
think that was in response to the question about Drake.
Okay, is this a
Drake?
glass of ice? No, it's a glass of ice with an energy drink. An energy drink. Okay, this is an actual question. Dan says, "How would you guys rank these three newcomers? Emil, Prates, and Bryczek. It feels like GBPs is going to be won on lost on these fights. I'll go first. I totally agree. I think all three of these fights score very well. I think the Bryczek fight is a one-round banger. I think somebody's getting slept in the first 5 minutes. I think Prates has good finish upside himself. And then Hyder Emil, a guy that I think can score a ton as well. If I had to rank them in terms of like upside, I'd say Bryczek, number one. I think he has first-round upside. I'd say Prates 2 and then Emil 3, but I really do like all three from a DraftKings perspective. Weezy, want to rank these three for me or for Dan?
yeah. For DraftKings this week, I think Emil, Bryczek, and Prates. Even though I've got Prates in my lineup, I think Hyder Emil's opponent is terrible, and Hyder Emil's pace is absolutely phenomenal. I mean, this guy is going to be a DraftKings favorite going forward if he fights anything like he fought on his tape prior to the UFC. Bryczek, this guy could bench press a bus off of you. If this guy he's ridiculous. He could be, he could be a human battering ram. So I like him because we've seen Potieria get knocked out a lot. And then Prates has got the toughest opponent of the three. With Trevin Giles, you got a cop in there. That you could get that win and then get pulled over on the way home and get roughed up worse than you roughed him up in the cage just because you pissed off the wrong people. So that's the way I see it.
Gordo, how about you? How would you rank those three?
I think long-term in terms of prospects, I would go Prates, Emil, then Bryczek. But on a card like this, we're talking about upside, I would go Prates, Bryczek, then Emil.
And Monk, what do you got?
I agree. Agree with Gordo. Prates, Bryczek, and Emil third.
Sounds good to me. Hopefully, we helped you out there, Dan. If I give you $10, if Dixon gives $10 to put on one fighter to win by split decision, who would you pick? Weezy, who do you think wins by split decision?
Loma Luke Boonme plus 900. That's what I would do.
Is it really?
Yep.
That's crazy. For a strawweight fight, split decision. Yeah, that's nuts. Gordo, split decision. Who are you thinking?
Jeremiah Wells. It's going to be a moment versus minute winner here, and I think he's able to fight a close one against Max Griffin that he's able to edge.
Yeah, I was thinking
I was
that
going
fight.
to bet Wells by decision. I'm still going to do it probably.
Yep, I'm thinking that same fight, Jeremiah Wells, Max Griffin. I see probably a split there potentially. I like Weezy's Loma plus 900 is kind of wild as well. Monk, any split decision props you like this week?
The Loma was number one. Probably Wells is up there. I was leaning maybe some bad reffing, maybe if Fili wins around Ige Fili. But what about the second fight of the night, Emil and Garcia? They could get a little sloppy possibly. So maybe one of those.
Yeah, Emil gets very, very sloppy in a lot of his shots. Let's see what else we got in here. Dixon asking if I like my NFL plays. I don't really like the MVP one, but I do like this Kelsey 25 yards in each half. I do like that. Plus 100. He's been killing it. Weezy, do you know this? What weight have MJ's KOs been at? 145 or 155?
If we're talking offense, it's probably all been at 155. Just because he was horrible at 145, Johnson was. That's where he got a lot of his losses. Because he tried to cut down to 145. The fights were the Elkins fight, the Fili fight, the Lobov fight, and the Emmett fight. And his wins were by decision, and both of his losses were finishes. So all of his KO wins since 2013, Alan Patrick, second round, Dustin Poirier, first round, Gleison Tebow, second round, were all at 155.
All right. And there's a comment I wanted to pull up there. Is Paulo Costa making it to the canvas? No, he's never fighting again.
I have that fight right now. Who's he fighting?
It doesn't matter. It's not happening.
He said he only was over 5 pounds over as of now.
It's Whitaker, right? So I right now have it as Whitaker versus TBA.
Yep. He's not fighting.
Yeah.
Gordo, this one's for you because you seem to be high on Kwamba. You want to talk about him? And is he any good? Apparently, you do think he is. I still need to look into him a lot more, though.
I do really like the guy. I think he's an overall good skill set. The fear with him this week is he's coming in on short notice up a weight class. With that being said, I love his resiliency. I love his takedown upside. I love his ability to mix it up wherever the fight goes. He had a very close and competitive matchup against one of Canada's best prospects on Dana White Contender Series, and he pulled out the win. And that matchup showed he's able to mix it up, whether it be with takedowns, whether it be fighting through adversity, but also the ability to compete on the feet as well. And I think in this matchup here, although he has a very physical guy in front of him, he should have the ground advantage. He should have the ability to go out there and push Oki to some spots where he's never been before and test their resiliency. And with that ability to go out there and win minutes wherever the fight is, I do like Kwamba this week.
All right. So Dixon says, can I interest you in my dart throw of the week? Let's hear it. Ihor by sub round 3 plus 7,500. If Bryczek death gases, it makes it around 3. Ihor has 7 submissions on his record at this price. How wrong could it be? I won't get there, but we've seen crazier things happen. You're right. Ihor does have a lot of submissions for what it's worth, and Bryczek's fairly unproven. Probably doesn't have the best cardio, but on the flip side, Ihor is coming in here on short notice, down a weight class for some reason. So it's not the worst, prop sprinkle in the world there, Dixon. We'll see if you can hit that. Monk, this can be for you. What's up, fellas? Finally made it. I only got one question. Is 7,200 Jack Hermansson the best value play?
Yeah, I think I talked about him a couple times. I think I mentioned him in the value play. I really do like him easy at that price tag. Fantastic. especially the longer this fight goes. But I think my actual pick was, I can't believe I'm doing this. It was either Bogdan or Fernie. I have those two written down, so kind of a roll of the dice at this point. But yeah, I do love the B side of the main event.
All right, and then just a couple more. So we were talking about this fight before the show. What's the early look on Volk versus Potieria? My gut is telling me you can't pass at Volk at this price, but Ilya is going to be a tough all-around competition. I think I could see a Volk KO late. I mean, obviously I haven't looked into the fight yet, but I mean, getting Alexander Volkanovski at a pick him against anybody is certainly very intriguing.
Yeah.
So
you see Volk with a plus next to his name, you just like, it's like you're on it's like I'd be on Ambien, dude. I'm just walking to my computer and I'm fucking doing it.
Yeah, Volk, I mean, at featherweight, I mean, against anybody in the featherweight division, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like I said, I need to look into that matchup. Can't wait for that one next week. Favorite over? I like the over in the Max Griffin Wells fight. Weezy, what do you have a favorite over for this week?
Yeah, the stop the violence parlay that I'm considering would be the over 2.5 rounds in the Brazil Luke Boonmi fight, parlayed with the over 2.5 rounds in the Clack versus Prochniel fight. But I also like the over in the Max Griffin fight with Wells as well. All
right. Oh, what about the you could do a cop parlay, Trevin Giles versus RoboCop. What do you think? That's not a bad.
They're good. There's got to be a good name. No, they're not in the same weight class anymore.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting parlay. RoboCop by KO or Pyfer by KO. I'm picking both of them by KO. If I had to pick one, I don't know. Pyfer, I don't know. I think they both could. Let's see. I think we covered pretty much. Gordo, you have a favorite over before we get out of here, and then we'll ask Monk as well.
Yeah, I was looking at both. Actually, the overs I do like are pretty juiced. I was hoping to get a better number on the Garcia Emil over and maybe the Ige Fili over.
And then Monk.
Yeah, I like the Ige Fili over, and I mean, Johnson Flowers could just be 15 minutes of fucking awful fighting. So I'd have to see the number on that.
We got Jacqueline saying hit the like. Yeah, if you guys have not hit the like, be sure to do so. All right, we'll do quick picks before we get out of here. As always, we expect the pick in the round and the method. Gordo, we'll kick it to you first. What do you got?
Pick round method. All right, let's take Joe Pyfer. Let's go actually KO2, Dan Ige decision. Let's go Robert Bryczek KO1, Gregory Rodrigues KO2. Michael Johnson, KO3, Rodolfo Vieira, sub 1, Carlos Prates, KO2, Timothy Kawamba decision, Loma Lugbunmi decision, Devin Clark decision, Jeremiah Wells decision, Zach Pauga, KO2, Hyder Emil decision, and Daniel Marcos, KO3.
All right, I am going to go Joe Pyfer, KO1, Dan Ige, KO2, Bryczek, KO1, Rodrigues, KO2, Johnson, sub 2. I think this dude's going to tap the strikes. I really do. I think he's going to tap out the strikes there. Vieira, submission round 1, Prates, KO round 1, and then just a bunch of decisions. Luke Boonmi decision, Clark decision, Griffin decision, Guskov, KO1, Emil decision, and Marcos decision. Monk, what do you got for quick picks?
Yeah, I'll be the lone guy on the dog here. I'm going Jack Hermansson decision. We're going to say Ige decision, Bryczek round 1 KO, RoboCop decision, Johnson decision, Vieira round 2 sub, Prates round 1 KO, get the officer out of there early. Kawamba, how about decision? Look Boonmi decision. We'll go Clark round 3 KO, Wells decision, Guskov round 1 KO, Fernie decision, and Arichi Lang decision.
All right, and Weezy, quick picks for this week.
Pyfer, KO2, Ige, KO2, Bryczek, KO1, Rodrigues, KO2, Johnson, KO2, Vieira, submission 2, Prates, KO2, Oki, KO1. But that pick, I have no idea. I don't even know who the hell Kawamba is. Luke Boonmi, decision. Devin Clark, decision. Jeremiah Wells, decision. Zach Pauga, 3rd round knockout. Haider Ramil, 3rd round knockout. And Daniel Marcos by decision. And my favorite over is the same as Mushroom's favorite over.
Oh my.
Oh my.
I know Mushroom's doing a lot of that over in Philly. Shout out to Mushroom.
Oh snap.
All right, we're gonna kick it around. Gordo, what do you got going on for this week for some content?
Yeah, I may be lagging tonight because my Plays and Fades video is uploading right now. So I'm just going to make sure I get all that out of the way. Full card picks predictions will be up live on the Plays and Fades Sports YouTube channel, along with a best bet video out later this week as well. My full card of bets will be posted probably around Saturday morning on the Gordo Gambles Twitter page. Be sure to check that out. Appreciate all you guys. Wish all you guys the best luck this weekend. Let's make some money, guys.
There we go. Monk, what do you got going on for this week?
As usual, Monk and Lose happy hour tomorrow night, midnight Eastern time, 11 p.m. Central. Should be a good one. We've got 14 fights, half of them we don't know much about, and the other half are shit shows. So should be a good time with Lou in the week leading up to UFC 298. Other than that, not much. Just beating those trains. Let's go.
Beat those trains. Heck yeah. You beat a couple recently. You beat Thomas the Train and the Train tonight. Well done.
It's been lucky. We'll see how long we can ride these tracks.
There we go. And last but not least, Weezy, what do you got planned for the rest of the week for some content?
45 minutes from now, ask Weezy. You can ask me questions, lots of questions. I got stats, I got numbers. I've had a very interesting life, so you could ask me shit about that too. We could do a story time with Uncle Weezy. I don't know, man, but we got 10 o'clock Central Time, 44 minutes from now. I'm going live for Ask Weezy and going to make myself available to answer any questions that you might have about money lines, props, underdog props, prize picks, props, ways to stack cash tickets like flapjacks, ways to bathe in the blood of our vanquished Draftkings enemies. Let's go, you guys.
Let's do it. Thank you all for watching. I put out some content earlier in the week. I did a prize picks video, main event breakdown, and then my full card breakdown. Tomorrow I'll be getting out my DraftKings video, live stream Friday and Saturday. Check me out, DFS by the numbers. Leave a like on your way out, guys. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio, and we will see you next week for a very good card in UFC 298. See you guys later.